So where in the world do you start with this one?
So it says,
One thing that I noticed, he always says so it goes after like someone dies.
Mm-hmm.
Like always.
Every time. Any reaction to, like, the line itself?
Like it kind of seems that like he's just like brushing it off. Like people will die, and it's just like whatever. Like.
So you and I don't mean like make it sound like you're wrong, but you would take it as like apathetic or indifferent to death, not a big deal.
Because like in war, like people are dying, and like I feel like once after so many people die, it just becomes like a regular thing. So it's just like
Okay. Any other reactions to the phrase?
I thought it was like kind of like passive because like wasn't like you learn that from
It's Tralfamadorian, yeah. Would you like too passive? Do you think, or?
I mean, I feel like it's just kind of accepting the fact that we'll die.
Which I guess is part of life. I don't think that's necessarily something at certain ages that you want to kind of, yeah, all right, it's going to happen. You know, I would say you're probably a little young, you know, for it now. Meredith, any?
It kind of reminds me of it is what it is.
Okay. Or people will say, like, you know, that's life, those kinds of reactions to it. I think that it is what it is a Tralfamadorian kind of viewpoint too. It is what it is. Sam?
I don't know if this is of any consequence, but it shows up in the text 106 times.
Like just in the first half or the whole book?
In the whole book.
I feel like you've already read it.
I looked it up on unknown facts about Kurt Vonnegut's Slaughterhouse-Five.
It seems like he's kind of highlighting like how pointless most of the death is,
Okay.
especially in the war. It's just kind of pointless.
Does it do the opposite for anyone?
I mean, I'll be honest, I like the phrase. I don't know. I think it has a, yeah, I agree. I mean, like, it's just kind of like what Megan said, I think, or whoever said, like, a passive acceptance.
Do you
How it goes, I guess.
do you look at it as,
I found it comfortable.
hey, that's actually not a bad way?
It's not a,
Okay.
comfortable.
I think it's like just qualifying it. It's just a lesson.
Okay. Fair.
I honestly think it's his coping mechanism because he had to deal with so much death in the military. Maybe that was comforting to him.
And who's coping when you say his?
Ellie.
You thinking Billy? Okay. And yeah, I would definitely agree with that. Billy Pilgrim's coping mechanism, and I think that's a very appropriate term for it. You're certainly getting literally an out of this world perspective with it because it's a Tralfamadorian thing. And you know, Megan said about accepting death or realizing that it's going to happen. Keep in mind, Tralfamadorian viewpoint. You know, Erica's always at the beach. Erica's always doing the TWA. It's always been that way. It always will be that way. Fourth dimension, you know, time is a whole different aspect you see all the time. So yeah, person does die, so it goes. But they're still living here. They're still being born here. So all those events are kind of happening simultaneously, which goes back to does time really exist?
The more I read it, the more I kept expecting the phrase, and I think that's why Kurt Vonnegut used it so much, because he was trying to portray like what he experienced in the war, so he just came to expect that.
And like I'm kind of ambivalent with the phrase, and I don't mean ambivalent in the sense of I don't care about it, but I can see a lot of different ways in which it could be used. Where if you are Vonnegut or Billy, you know, you're involved in World War II, When they refer to parts of the war as a meat grinder, that's not a good term. I mean, you realize that there's going to be some horrific things going on. And if you are emotionally distraught with every single death, you're not going to succeed in your goal. At the same time, I think about the article that we read on Friday, the whole math murders thing. And you remember the one argument, or one of those arguments, was that as the numbers get higher for a death count, what happens to the significance? They go down. So you have like an inverse that's taking place. I do think in a way that every time you do have so it goes written, it still then does give every single death kind of equal significance or face time to it, whether it's a person, whether it's a bottle of champagne, whether it's a dog, whether it's a whatever. If it dies, so it goes is going to take place. So the Sam's tally, or Sam's reporting of the 106, tally, it's not simply going a lot of people died, but every time someone does, you do get a recognition of it. So in that way, I think it does become kind of purposeful with it. But I would agree that Billy finds it to be that coping mechanism of so it goes, because it's a way to certainly deal with what is going on. And you could make the argument that it's not human to look at things that way, because it's the Tralfamadorians who are bringing it up. And we can kind of look at later on whether or not we think their viewpoint is worthwhile or not. What else besides so it goes? Shannon got us started with that one. Just, things in general.
Could we talk about the Tralfamadorian view at the end here?
So you're looking at the note sheet?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think about it?
Kind of funny. I don't really know.
I think it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, they were really chill about it.
It is what it is.
Press the button.
No, there's and the whole, I'm going to overcomplicate this. The whole, it's not just the end of the world, it's the end of the universe. I can't grasp whole universe idea, to be honest with you, from like a scientific standpoint. It's there. There was a program on over the weekend when I was killing time. It was about black holes, and it was talking about in the early stages of the universe when it was smaller, but things were more dense and condensed. But now it's of course ever expanding, and of course human viewpoint is like, how can something get bigger than it already is? Like big, this thing out there. So the whole idea, I think, about the end of the universe, period, is something that we can't quite grapple with and completely understand. They don't care about the end of the universe at all, because they simply focus on
Everything else.
happy thoughts, because everything else is pretty much going to be happy about it. So I think there's one aspect where only focus on positives, which kind of like so it goes can be a nice therapeutic way to think about it. I think to a certain extent, and then it might become a little unhealthy. Robert, any universe wisdom?
I'm just generally kind of confused about the entire we see all time. Are they like the fourth dimensional beings?
Megan has something to contribute to this later. We'll let you speak first.
Let
Robert talk.
They're fourth dimensional beings that we can perceive in three dimensions. Do they exist throughout all of time? Do they only see like parts of time that there are their own personal experiences that happen within their own lifetime? Beyond that, do they just see everything?
We are never going to know. Okay. And I don't think that's much of a shock to it. I think you could even start off with the question, do they truly exist? And those readers who are, seducted by the whole sci-fi, hey, alien form out there, yes, they absolutely do exist. Billy is on Tralfamador right now and all this kind of stuff. I think from a realistic viewpoint in relation to the book, you could probably go, no, they do not exist. And I don't mean the sense that, hey, humans are the center of the universe, we're the only beings out there, but more in the, well, when does Billy get introduced to science fiction?
That
Rose
say
water.
the nonviolent.
When they are in basically the VA mental hospital, he is hiding under his blanket pretty much at all times. I always picture like Charlie Brown in the ghost costume from Lasagna, kind of show kind of look now. You have Elliot Rosewater with his Kilgore Trout collection of books. There's going to be more books that are going to be referenced to in the second half of the book that I think you might kind of start putting some pieces together. Billy is having a tough time coping with everything. I think having an alternative universe being that can make sense of something that humans can't comprehend is kind of nice. And it might be seductive in that way too. What's Billy's profession? An optometrist. He helps people see. So, hey, I'm going to help people see and bring in this whole alien viewpoint. So there are going to be holes kind of in their existence and all that kind of stuff. I don't think at the end of the book we're going to be able to go, yes, they do exist. No, they don't. And to be honest, I don't think it really matters. But to get that whole logical explanation of how they see in the fourth dimension, I think we're incapable of understanding that. Now, from a scientific standpoint, mentioning universe, people look at black holes as maybe being kind of like a gateway with that fourth dimension, manipulation of time and all that kind of stuff. So the idea of a fourth dimension is not foreign to people. Again, he makes a couple points where we see stars and dots in a sky, they see the spaghetti. So constant streaks of where things have gone, things are going, which, you take a look at a telescope, you see something from 400 million light years away, you're really looking at something 400 million years in the past. When they see it then, today, kind of like everything in between. So it's, I don't know if the skill's a great word, but it's certainly a perception that we don't have. I think that's part of the book. Now, is it healthy to completely disregard the way that humans look at things and solely go with, there's these other creatures that have a better perception than we do, and I'm going to fully go along with the whole so it goes? I think that's when things start to get a little debatable. Megan, you had some very exciting news to share.
I mean, it's probably off topic, but I just wanted to share that if you've seen the movie Arrival, it's like the same thing with the aliens like live in the fourth dimension. Then Amy Adams' character, she's friends with the aliens, so then she starts seeing stuff from all time.
Basically,
It blew my
the
mind.
movie Arrival ripped off the book.
I
Would
know
that
it
just
did.
destroy the
Less
human
lore
mind?
and more
It's like,
drama.
Now, to kind of get back to you, do humans have the capability of seeing in the fourth dimension?
obviously not. You can't do it. Not right now.
Well, the one kind of thing that you could throw out there is the concept of memory. Can we manipulate time?
I was wondering.
To a certain degree, yes. Now, I guess initially comes up, how accurate is that? And that certainly varies from person to person. But you can picture things from 5 years ago. You can see yourself so many years ago and in a way relive those events. I don't think in the way that the Tralfamadorians, solely focus on those things. Sam?
Just a thought. So, since they experience all time at once, and they talk about this, like, oh yeah, we know when the world's gonna end and all that kind of stuff. Can the world end if they're always experiencing the fact that the world is ending, the fact that they were born, the fact that everything is going on at one time? Can the world truly end if they're experiencing this all the time?
From our perspective, we can't tell because we would only be stuck in that moment where it has ended.
Because to them, the world would be ended already.
Now, again, and I don't know how well these parallels are going to translate, but, and there's going to be varying viewpoints when your organs cease to operate, when your body no longer moves, are you dead? Some will go yes, some will go no. And so if you're looking at afterlife, certainly that's going to be a manipulation of time in the way that we look at it. So I don't know, would be the honest answer. The big thing is, with the end of the world, or the end of the universe, they, being Tralfamadorians, don't, what would be like word to fill in the blank? Yeah, care. Is that a problem? To them, no. Greta's going yes. Why yes?
They're the ones that killed the universe.
It's their fault. As a human, does it matter?
Really, we'll probably be dead by then.
Earth's actually going to be long gone by then, possibly, maybe.
Hey, Stephen Hawking gave us what, like 10 to 20,000 years, I think, or
That's
10,000 to
big.
20.
It's like there's like several million between now and the sun.
Well, he was thinking, I think other factors would
No, maybe.
end to our demise, but before then, I don't remember what the date
Maybe
was.
next week, I don't know.
Okay, so I just kind of wanted to bring up the fact that Jan Janssen, whenever I read that, I thought it said Ron Swanson. And I had to step back.
This guy's a fortune teller.
And I was
Who
like,
knew Parks and Rec would be so big 50 years later?
I'm just gonna start reading this book and run Swanson's voice from now on.
Vince, I want to talk about Lot.
No, I was gonna talk about Young Young.
Okay. Because this is kind of going to go back to the do they care or should we care, does it matter kind of thing. What's the Lot story? Number one, so far as rhetorical device, we got a biblical allusion taking place.
You mentioned his wife, and he was like,
Yep.
she turned around and she wasn't supposed to, and she was married.
We familiar with the story? Generally speaking, in Bible, you have Sodom and Gomorrah, two cities that are ravaged with sin, and therefore God decides that they must be destroyed, or essentially burned in fire, as if you can be burned in something else. Angel comes down, tells Lot, wife, I think he has two daughters, leave. As long as you don't look back, you will be saved. But Lot's wife looks back, and then she becomes a pillar of salt. I don't think the story has quite as much meaning or significance because you don't really know what's going on at the beginning of the book. But Vonnegut goes through the whole thing. But she did look back, and he puts emphasis on did italics. And I love her for that because it was so human. So she was turned to a pillar of salt, obviously, so it goes. People aren't supposed to look back. I'm certainly not going to do it anymore. I finished my war book now. The next one I write is going to be fun. This one is a failure. It had to be since it was written by a pillar of salt. And then it begins like this, listen, and ends with the whole poo to eat. But you have this human aspect where Vonnegut purposely connects himself to being a pillar of salt because what is he doing? He's looking back at a city that was destroyed, burned in fire. So you go to the question that we had before with the Tralfamadorians, does it matter, the fact that they don't care? I think Vonnegut's answer would be, yes, it does matter. Because if you don't care, then what are you? You're no longer human. The human thing to do is to look back. So that coping mechanism of the Tralfamadorians, so it goes, all those things that Billy Pilgrim, finds so tempting, therapeutic, I guess. I think this is where you go, Vonnegut wouldn't really align with it. Genres of the book, sci-fi, anti-war novel. I'd say there's also another S word. It's satire. Now, if it is satire, what then has to be a purpose? You are criticizing some kind of aspect of society. What aspect of society does he find to be so dehumanizing? Could be the glorification of war, could be the apathy, the indifference that people have towards war, all those aspects. Keep in mind, book publication 1969, so you are right in the throes of Vietnam, and you have fire bombings or take napalm bombings, all those things are going on again, in the 1960s, after people have just kind of learned what's going on with Dresden. Part of the reason that Vonnegut has to wait to publish the book is he needs to write it first. He's not sure how to do it. It's also classified information for that bombing of Dresden until later on. So he's like the first fictional book, really the first book that really kind of deals with the bombing, because a lot of folks are literally in the dark about it. Jan Janssen, not Ron Swanson.
I think almost like it begins kind of like a recurring theme of like competitiveness.
Sure.
Something that keeps going and going forever. I think that comes back and like still does most like perception of the universe. How
You said perception of.
the universe, how it's just going on and on.
Well, I think not only like perception of universe, but also the perception of. What does Harrison Starr say? Hey, you're going to write an anti-war book, you may as well write an anti-glacier book. You're not going to stop it. You're not going to change it. It's always going to happen. It's going to constantly keep going. And so war could be one of those aspects to it. I don't know if we can say that Vonnegut has an answer to how to deal with all these things, but I kind of look at the story more or less as being a communication of the problems that exist with it. People know that war's bad, whether you've partaken in it or you're watching it from the outside. The book doesn't make any sense at all, really. And I think you can make the statement that what else doesn't make any sense? There's nothing intelligent to say about a massacre, which we know. What are the closing lines of the book? Who to eat? Anybody know what poo to eat means? It's the birds talking. We don't know what it means. But if you take a look with your AP English language and composition skills,
It's a question.
it's a question.
Who to eat? I don't know.
Unfortunately, a question that we
Understand.
Rhetorical.
one of the things moving forward, though, is, okay, what is the context? And until we get to the end, we don't really know. But it's a question that we can't answer, a question that we can't understand. I think in the context of, the birds asking the question, that might be something to take a look at.
But it said like the complementary planet was like 446 quadrillion 120 trillion. Is there anything like special about that number?
It's a really big number.
Just throwing it out.
Maybe we just pretend to write a little bit like
I think the whole idea is so far removed from our own world, galaxy, but it also kind of emphasizes where that manipulation of time, he goes so far, but he only feels like he's been there, he's there a week when mine's been a while. So,
That whole spaghetti thing was class, actually. I could not like visualize
pasta
that.
for dinner tonight, whoa!
This is what the YouTubers
Look at Jupiter!